Hey folks, welcome to the channel. I like looking at theological topics. I like looking at arguments. I like looking at how they're structured. I like learning. And I just discovered this person. YouTube, as the algorithm will do, makes suggestions based on viewing history. She is doing the video. Her name is Robyn Walsh. And this captured my attention. Was Jesus the only Son of God? So we're going to take, this is probably more of an anthropological thing, but I want to see what she's got to say about this, because I love this. Bart is certainly controversial. Not to me, he's not, because he and I agree on a lot of stuff. We came to our conclusions via different means, but, I wrote a book in 1998. It was 550 pages published by International Scholars Publications on the errors of the Trinity and the historical development of it, the tortuous lines of reasoning, the different verbiage used, and so forth. So if she is hosting something on his channel, she's likely, I don't want to say a devotee because that would be crass. She's her own person. But we're going to see, was Jesus the only Son of God?
Was Jesus the only Son of God? Hi, everybody. My name is Robyn Walsh. I'm a scholar of New Testament and early Christianity and part of the Bart Ehrman team. And the quick answer to that question, was Jesus the only Son of God, is actually no. In the ancient Mediterranean world, so here I'm thinking about both the Greco-Roman world as well as within Judaism, there were actually multiple people who either claimed that kind of exalted status or
Right.
people sort of appended or offered that kind of exalted status to someone or associated them with it. So let me give you some examples. Right off the bat, you might think about someone like a Roman emperor. So, for example, Augustus claimed that he was descended from Venus. That's why you sometimes see statues of him, like the Prima Porta, with a little Cupid holding on to the hem of his garments. And he usually put this on something like his breastplate. So he would be the son of a god in that case. Another example, Alexander the Great. We have birth narratives for him, so part of his biographical tradition, that claimed that his mother was actually tricked by a god who disguised himself as her husband and visited her in her bedchamber to conceive Alexander. So that explains why he was so extraordinary. And that is the theme here. Usually the person who is being associated with this kind of status has some kind of seemingly almost supernatural or superhuman ability. So people like really great doctors or even really great athletes, this is the kind of moniker that they might actually receive. Now, within Judaism, I can give you a few examples. Let me try two or three. So one is a man named Honi. And we know about Honi from some later sources, but also from Josephus, the Jewish historian, in his Antiquities around chapter 14. He talks about Honi the circle drawer. And Honi's claim to fame, his sort of supernatural ability, was that he could make rain come by praying to God. And so the fact that he was able to get God to listen to him when he's requesting rain was considered a superhuman trait. So he would draw a circle around himself and stay in that spot and ask God to bring rain and would stay there until it comes. Now you can imagine in times of, drought or famine, he actually gets a pretty sizable following because he is able to both put on this display but also show this kind of favor. Eventually, he's actually stoned to death outside of Jerusalem on Passover. So some interesting parallels there with the eventual Jesus narrative, and Honi lived about 100 years before Jesus. Now, another example about 15 years after Jesus' time is a man named Theudas. Now, Theudas claimed that he would be able to go down to the Jordan River and part it like the Red Sea, the way that Moses had. So he actually also brings himself together a following. He was also known as something of a teacher and wonder worker, and he marches down to the Jordan to part it like the Red Sea. But he's actually decapitated by the Romans once he gets there, and they also slaughter his followers. And I believe his head was brought to either Jerusalem or Rome. And so in each case, you had somebody who had a certain following, known as a teacher and a wonder worker, and probably had something of a bit of an apocalyptic outlook. And so the other figure, if I could just throw in here, that you might be familiar with is John the Baptist. And we know from something like the Gospel of Mark that even at the time of that gospel being written, there's a moment when they're questioning the disciples who Jesus actually is. And I think Peter suggests, aren't you the resurrected John the Baptist or Elijah, or, brought back to life? So it just shows you what kind of status John the Baptist actually had. And there's a case of someone we know had an apocalyptic outlook. If you want to know more about these figures and about this particular moment in time and about this subject, I'm actually going to be giving a talk this coming Friday, March 21st at 2 o'clock Eastern
Oh,
on
that's
Was
today.
Jesus an Apocalyptic Prophet?
Okay, that was good. I like learning about new people who are out there, but I thought she was going to take this in a different direction, and I have no problem with the direction she took it in. My mind has sort of been wired in one direction on this, that the titles, even within the Bible itself, Son of God, that was given to people who considered themselves to be exalted or who in the culture were exalted. So you'd give them this honorific title of Son of God. And certainly she mentioned in the beginning the Greco-Roman world, Greece and Rome. There, it was a mythological world. There was Zeus and other heavenly deities, and it was posited like the Nephilim, that they came down and that they could procreate with the women here on earth. So it was this world in which these spirit beings, or these metaphysical other types of beings, could come down and cohabit with humans. And so it was very common for somebody to be called a son of God. Now, the difference with Jesus is you change the indefinite article from a son of God to the definite article, the Son of God. Then you get into the only begotten Son of God. Now we're adding more strings of adjectives to which meanings and explanations are attached. And then you get into the virgin birth. And Jesus was actually not only and this is a problem in Trinitarian thought, not only was Jesus the Son of God, he's also God himself. And here you get into quite torturous logic, and meanings of words kind of fall in their heads. And I mean, in some ways I liken it to today, where a man can just declare to be a woman and compete in women's sports. And I mean, obviously that's in the political world now, that's being turned around, but it always was an odd construct to me that you could just say, hey, I'm this now. And to me, you may want to be a given thing. That doesn't make you that thing. And in this world back then, where, like, are you literally the Son of God? Or is that just something that people sort of are honoring you with? Or you are honoring yourself, that you wish yourself that you were so close to God himself, or the angels, or whomever, or the Greek gods, or the Roman gods, that you have this attachment and this not mere affinity, but you are so close to them, and now you actually are one of them. But does that make you a spiritual being, so to speak? Does that make you this otherworldly thing? In my day and time, and in my mind, and according to my learning, I just say no. No, you can call yourself these things if you want, and you're allowed to do that, just like you could give yourself a screen name online. It still doesn't make you that thing. All right, good stuff, guys. I may be doing more of Robyn stuff. I'll be getting to more of Bart Ehrman stuff down the line as well, too, because I like his stuff. I like his style. It's been a while since I've done a reaction or a review of something of his, so I'll get there as well. So there you have it, guys. That was theology, but that was also anthropology. It was cultural, and all those things are relevant to philosophical inquiry or the curious mind. Have a great day. See you on another video, and keep thinking philosophically.